here today representing Duke Conservation Technology Club. There's quite a few members in the audience. But I'm really here to talk about the story of why engineering and interdisciplinary conversations are crucial to this food security and conservation question. In order to tell you that story, I have to start with my story. I'm from Colorado, which means, as you might expect, I grew up horseback riding, hiking, skiing, all those outdoor things. I also had a family farm, which means I was always involved in conversations about invasive species, salvaging, the economics, hardships, chemistry, and a little bit of luck that goes into farming and getting food on your table. My first exposure to the ocean was through fishing in Alaska, but I soon discovered that I much preferred it under the waves, scuba diving, and doing underwater photography. It was all of these things that led me to my current degree at Duke University for electrical and computer engineering with a biology minor. If it makes you pause a little bit and think that that's unconventional, you're right. It's not very often that engineers really get the chance to see where their work collaborates in the larger world. And I think that that's a crucial element that's missing in education. It's also these opportunities. I'm president of the Duke Robotics Club, and I'm going into aerospace, as Leslie said. It's these ideas that there's so much collaboration and expertise to be shared across industries that need to be brought into this conversation. Specifically, the Duke Conservation Technology Club, started by Sam over there in the corner in 2016, it focuses on this idea. Before I go any further, how many of you have heard of conservation technology? How many of you could define it? My definition is the idea that engineers, biologists, conservationists, policymakers, and economic experts must be in the same room or the same Skype conversation to move conservation forward. Or more simply, engineers making cool stuff under the guise of conservation. We try to apply this in our club by having engineers, biologists, economic students, even a documentary studies major, to really bring this conversation further. Some of the projects we're including are 2 UAV or drone projects, one tracking megafauna like turtles or seals using QR codes, and another trying to give South African landowners more tools to combat rhino poaching and other animal crime. 2 of our marine projects include lineless traps or pots for fishing to decrease whale entanglement. My project, however, is for a very simple idea of putting LEDs on a net. So for those of you who aren't familiar, gill nets are these grid-like nets used to capture fish. They're generally considered pretty selective. You can change the size of the grid to get different kinds of fish. However, they are not selective for turtles. As you can see in this image, it's a large issue. Studies have shown that small-scale coastal gillnet fisheries have high levels of sea turtle bycatch, and this is directly contributing to the population decline of several sea turtle species and also the obstruction of the sea turtle population recovery. The primary threat here, obviously, is entanglement, resulting in injury or drowning, with 20 to 40% of entanglement resulting in mortality. This is a lose-lose. These turtles are dying, and these fishermen are losing their nets, and there needs to be a solution. But this is Earth Optimism, so we have some good news. Some scientists were motivated by this to explore the differences in sensory capabilities of the sea turtles and the target fish. And they realized that there's a really big difference in how they process green light or their ability to see it. These researchers attached standard green LED marine lights to these gill nets, to the float line, just a simple dangling hook, some non-rechargeable AA batteries, and an LED. And the results were dramatic. With absolutely no change in the target catch rate of the fish, we could decrease the bycatch of sea turtles by 40 to 60%. If you think about that, that's halving the issue. That's dramatic. However, these LEDs are all $10 to $40 a piece. These nets can be 2 kilometers long. That's over $1,000 a net just in lights. As we talked about earlier, these fishermen are not making that much money. Their incomes would be, it just makes this whole thing very impractical. So we were contacted to see if we could engineer a better solution. And in conversations, we also discovered that these devices further tangle these nets. Our practice gill net got tangled in 2 days flat. It's unrecoverable. And also these non-rechargeable batteries. They're spending, again, thousands of dollars of years replacing these batteries. So the mechanical team who's sitting back there, we started figuring out, okay, how can we solve this tangling issue to start with? We can attach to the pre-existing buoys that are already on the nets. We can make this horizontal rather than vertical. We can also make this completely user-friendly. No moving parts, nothing to open and close, no O-ring. We can make this solid epoxy device. But that means no access to batteries. So let's make them rechargeable batteries. And let's use the same technology that's in everybody's electric toothbrush to inductively charge these devices. This is our charging rack we're still manufacturing. But let's leave these devices on the net for a month at a time. Once a month, take all of them off, put them in a charging rack, charge them, and then put them back into the ocean for another month. Then we said, well, okay, if we want no touching these devices, no maintenance, no on and off, we also need a saltwater switch. This is my electronics. For this, we are about to get these actually printed on printed circuit boards, but they're very simple components. Basically just a AA battery, a rechargeable AA battery, a saltwater switch. And then the innovative part, and the part that has let us do this, is we got some inspiration from solar garden lights. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? The dollar store lights. We opened them up and found this very simple 10-cent Chinese integrated chip that not only monitors the status of the battery to enable charging, but also regulates the on-off when it's day or when it's night. We took the same logic, the same 10-cent chip, and just integrated it so it knows whether it's charging and whether it's in the water. This enabled us to completely simplify the circuit, get rid of any complicated, expensive battery monitoring, and get it to just these components you see here. And this whole thing can be printed in about a 2-inch, you can see the battery for scale. So, and the goal was $9. So we think that at bulk, at 1,000 devices per fishery, we can get these under $9. The other cool thing about this is we tried to make a design that could be built in country by the fishermen or the local communities. No importing anything, no going through customs, no overhead from another country. We want these to be customized in country. You can change the size, the LEDs, the battery life, anything to make it more customizable to the fisheries. Ultimately, this is a sample that I have up here. So when it's in water, it turns on. Ultimately, the success of this turtle light will be measured by the number of sea turtle entanglements it prevents. The success will depend on fishermen wanting to use this device to not only save turtles, but also increase the longevity of their nets. The usability and this cost of this device are the main deterrents. So in order to be successful, this light has to be able to stay on nets for multiple deployments, reduce the man hours for installation, and cost less than $10. And we really think that we can realize these goals, and therefore decrease turtle bycatch by 60%. But what's exciting about this is not just sea turtles with gill nets. Some researchers I've talked to, with many more PhDs than I have also suggested that this could be applied to a much larger scale, to look at the sensory differences of many different animals, whether sharks, dolphins, anything that is accidentally being caught that is not desired. We can use this device, change the wavelengths, change the form factor, customize it, and enable research to occur at a lower price point to investigate this cool application. If we are successful with this, we really can decrease fishermen's bycatch and waste, enabling a more reliable food source and food security. But the takeaway message of this isn't just this device or any of the devices that'll come after this. The idea is the success of putting a bunch of engineering students together in a room with other people, other resources, whether it's the U.S. Army Research Office or the World Wildlife Foundation, having interdisciplinary collaboration and conversations. It's the idea that you need cross-pollination and collaboration to be the key for future success in conservation.